Afternoon people in YouTube land. Today I'm going to try and fix this keyboard. A couple of keys which are off just to demonstrate. So we have the F sharp, the note D, so we have the F sharp, the note D and the B flat. So F sharp, D and B flat. Basically I don't think it's a keyboard that should be thrown out or go to waste. So let's try and fix it. Quite an old keyboard, but very good make. Technics. Many years ago, owned by Panasonic. So it's well made. Many features which you see on modern day keyboards, but very easy to fix and actually very easy to control. So let's get down to it. Look at the keyboard. Again, this is the first time I've had to go at actually mending a keyboard like this. We have a hinge there and a hinge there. So I'm thinking that just to loosen the outer screws, which we see here, and it might be one of those that we might be able to just lift the keyboard up, look at the innards, and look at the keyboard bed and clean the contacts. So wish me luck. Okay, back again, taking the screws out. What I love about these old keyboards is how they're made. This was in its day a professional keyboard, so it's hinged, and the problem will be on this board here, going behind here. So the next step is to go behind, clean the contacts, and make sure that everything is connected and working. So just I want a really big, good clean. I've been told by my year mates I need to give a big shout out. Absolutely wonderful kids. And again, it's something which I feel can be done by anybody if a key fails to sound. And I'm sure it's only dust. But again, just well made compared to modern day keyboards, which are not really built to last. Okay. Let's have a look. You must be very careful is pulling these connector blocks out, making sure that things are not twisted or broken. If you feel that you think you're going to break it, again it's all down to age. This keyboard is over 35 years old, so plastics will become brittle. They will become brittle, and you've got to make that decision. Is it going to break? Are you going to break it by forcing it? So again, I think what I need to do is just slowly tease the connector off, and if I feel I'm going to break it, just push it back into position. So wish me luck. Okay, I've removed the keyboard bed, I've removed the screws. Again, you're just going to make sure what you're taking out is holding the keyboard bed in. So, what we're talking about, there was a strap on there, you can just see I've just put the screw back in again, and locating plugs. And all you're trying to do is just trying to make a note of where things come from. And then this is the hard part, where you've got to remove the printed circuit board, and it's this board here. It looks like it's been not really glued in. I've taken the screws out. There's movement on there, but behind there I should be greeted with some rubber pads for each key. That needs to be stripped down, and all of it needs to be cleaned. And we'll put it back together, and we'll see if a cue is a fault. But the keyboard, bed needs to be cleaned. If you imagine 35 years, dust can get in there. And 35 years of that will have an effect on the performance of the keyboard. The workmanship and the quality of this machine is absolutely fantastic. It's just the quality, which you just don't get anymore. And this is which really annoys me, that the quality is not there. We've got hinges, and you might ask, well, yeah, it's just a hinge. Well, actually, working on the keyboard and mending the keyboard makes life so easy. But again, just the quality of components is just far superior to today's machines. I'm just amazed by it all, and just amazed by how quality has just slipped. And again, we live in a throwaway society. This, you know, in its day, the mid 1980s, this was a professional keyboard, and it's shaped how keyboards are constructed and how they are programmed. So anyway, let's strip the keyboard bed down and let's see if we can mend this machine. If you just look here, you can see that like a brown patch of glue. They're just glued in, and what you must do, just remove the glue slowly. I just use part of of my scissors. You see there, just cut it away. Just go in slowly, and what we have there, and I can't really do this because that's attached, but you can actually, I will stop and I'll flip it over, and you will be greeted with the part of the heart of the keyboard bed. Keyboard bed, see there, quite grubby, but again, it's all a keyboard. Basically is a printed board line of switches, and each of those switches represents a black or white key. Okay, back again. I've just slowly teased it out. This is not the part of the broken, but you can have a look. It's just a circuit, and that relies on a good clean contact. So what I need to do now is just basically take my time, strip it down, making sure that these are clean, but and again, essentially this part and that part, that's what comes into contact, and I'm sure it will be dirt and dust and things, you know, 35 years, if you can imagine, keyboards just left sat out, dust can get in between the keys, which you see there, dust can get in between the keys. Yes, this part's sealed, but as the keys are moving up and down, you know, and heat, things will give slightly. But it's 35 years of, you know, grime. But again, I'm not an electrical engineer. The keyboard's not plugged into the mains, nor would I work on a keyboard plugged in with the cover off. So just to, you know, emphasize this, I'm not working on this keyboard with the mains plugged in. Everything's disconnected. I won't touch the power until the cover is back on and all screws and everything is secure. I must remind people about this, that never ever work on electrical equipment with things apart. It's just stupid, and it's a way that you could actually injure yourself or you know, death, which at the end of the day we don't want. And it's all about prevention and safety. So again, clean surfaces, and just making sure that what you take off, you know where it goes back to. You know, we've got that famous saying of, you know, I've mended this keyboard, but look all of the parts that I've saved. So again, I've marked where things go back to, and it's just basically taking your time and using good tools to prevent injury and damage to the equipment. So I'm going to slowly just peel these back. I'm going to clean them, and all I'm going to do is just put them side by side. So when I do clean, they'll be cleaned, put back, cleaned, put back, clean, put back, instead of taking each, you know, taking them all out and getting them messed up, which a lot of people do. They take all the screws out, take the pads out, take everything out, and then something happens and they leave it and then they forget and they try and put it back together. Sometimes it could be the end of the keyboard, or things just don't work because it's just not seated right. But this, you know, I firmly believe in that things, you know, things should be mended and things should not be thrown away if at all possible. You know, this keyboard can be saved, needs a good clean, but for a beginner, for, you know, a young person, I think it's an excellent keyboard. Everything's laid out logically. There's no display. However, it doesn't need a display. It's all logical, And if my daughter, who's 12 years old, can work it within, I would say, 2 or 3 minutes, I'm not insulting her. So a big shout out to Sarah. If she can work it and she's a non-keyboard player, I'm sure anybody can. Just a wonderful keyboard, just well made, which we don't see anymore. It is quite heavy to carry, but it is built to last, and that's how it's lasted for over 35 years. Okay, bye for now. Just clean the contacts. Again, the rubbers, but you can see, clean the contacts. And now I want to do a deep clean with contact cleaner. So what I've done now is I've cleaned them, and now the next thing we need to do is actually use this contact cleaner on the board itself. I always find that using these, I'm sure some people will disagree, but using these just to get the dirt, the ingrained dirt out of the contacts. But I do actually find this successful. So let's now clean them all. Just make sure that everything is absolutely ultra clean. But they're really clean. Those black parts need to be cleaned by the cleaner, because actually they become in contact with the contacts themselves, and that would be the keyboard there. So everything has to be absolutely spotlessly clean to make a good contact. But once this is all clean, it should be good as new, hopefully. So fingers crossed. But again, I will do the grand opening of pressing the power button on and testing all the keys, and hopefully they should all work. So let's now... Right, what I'm going to do is just to show you what I normally do, just a little squirt, and then just wipe away and clean the contact. But you can see from the head of the earbud that it is dirty, but you've got to do each one and making sure that the board is absolutely spotless. Again, if I just take this just on the head, it does take a long time. Take one of those, again, pinch it and just clean it. Just take some time, but that's going to make a big difference to the contact on the circuit board. Okay, back in a few moments. Welcome back. Cleaned it all, refitted. I've cleaned the case, I've lubricated the switches, and now it's time to put it all back together. So a good clean, 35 years worth of dust and grime. Was dirty, however, I'm sure now it should be a lot better. So let's now, again, I've cleaned the keys, cleaned the keyboard bed, and it should be good for another 35 years. I'm sure by that time it will be in a museum. But again, as you can see, I think the workmanship and just the quality of the circuit boards is absolutely brilliant. Very thick, not like today's parts, which are very, very, very thinner. But this is, a well-built instrument. It's made of metal, the casing. It's not the lightest of keyboards, however, it's built to last. And again, it was viewed all those years ago as a professional keyboard. But as you can see, it's all been cleaned. It's just a matter of now just putting it all back together. Good instrument. I'm sure it'll do years of service. Again, brilliant for the beginner. It's just so easy to operate compared to these new style keyboards, which I'm sure 99% of people don't use the functions which are built in. With this keyboard, it's all at your fingertips, and again, absolutely brilliant. So back in a minute. Attached, all wires all cleaned, all lubricated, cleaned. It's all now done. Going to now close the case, fasten it up, and the big review of will it work cleaning the keyboard bed. See you soon.